I know that feeling all too well. You spot a tiny wine cooler on a bargain site, think just a few bucks and I'll have my reds at the perfect temperature, and then weeks later you're staring at a humming box that smells like a kitchen fridge and a temperature that swings more than a summer thermostat. Cheap mini coolers promise the dream of a personal cellar, but most of them end up being noisy, temperature unstable, and barely able to keep a bottle from going flat. That's why I wanted to see if this 12-bottle mini wine fridge actually delivers on the hype, or if it's just another flashy gadget that will leave you swearing at the next happy hour. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first held the unit, the first thing that struck me was how light it feels. It's clearly built for a countertop, not a built-in cabinet. The digital temperature control sits right on the front, and the display glows a soft blue that's easy to read even in low light. You can set the temperature with a few taps, and the unit claims to keep the interior within a tight range using Bluetooth-enabled smart cooling. For someone who lives in an apartment and wants a dedicated spot for a small collection, the size and interface make a lot of sense. It's not a massive cellar, but the 32-liter interior fits 12 standard bottles comfortably, and the interior shelves are adjustable, letting you store a few taller bottles or a couple of half bottles without crowding. Now, let's talk about the practical side of using this thing day to day. The Whisper Quiet label isn't just marketing fluff. When I placed it on a kitchen counter next to a coffee maker, the compressor stayed barely audible, even when the door was opened and closed a few times a day. That quietness is a big win for anyone sharing a small living space or trying to keep a wine cooler in an office break room. The triple-layer UV-shielding glass is another thoughtful touch. It blocks the kind of light that can prematurely age a delicate white or rose. In real life, that means you can leave a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc in the fridge for a couple of weeks without worrying about it turning dull or developing off flavors. One of the hidden trade-offs, though, is the limited temperature range. The unit tops out at about 65 F, 18 C, and can go down to 41 F, 5 C. For most everyday drinking, that works fine, but if you're a serious collector who wants to store a Bordeaux at 55 F, 13 C, or a sparkling wine at a cooler 45 F, 7 C, you'll have to get creative with the setting and maybe accept a little variance. I tested the fridge with a cheap digital thermometer, and the temperature drifted a degree or two over a 12-hour period after the door was opened repeatedly. Not catastrophic, but something to keep in mind if you're particular about exact temps. Energy consumption is another practical consideration. The unit's compressor cycles fairly often when you first set it up, but once it reaches the set point, it settles into a low-power mode. In a typical month, the electricity bill will only see a modest bump. Think the cost of a few light bulbs left on. For people who are environmentally conscious or on a tight budget, that's a relief compared to larger freestanding coolers that can run like a small fridge. So, who should actually buy this mini wine fridge? If you're a casual enthusiast who enjoys a glass or two after work, lives in a small apartment, and wants a dedicated spot that won't clash with your living room decor, this is a solid choice. It shines for people who entertain at home and want to keep a few bottles at serving temperature without having to juggle a regular fridge. The adjustable shelves also make it flexible enough to store a couple of craft beer bottles or even a small cheese platter, so it's handy for multi-purpose entertaining. On the flip side, if you're a serious collector with a growing library, or you need a precise temperature for aging high-end reds, this unit will feel limiting. The 12-bottle capacity means you'll outgrow it quickly, and the temperature range, while adequate for most drinking scenarios, doesn't give you the fine-tuning that a dedicated cellar or a larger dual-zone cooler provides. Also, if you're planning to place the fridge in a garage or a place with extreme ambient temperatures, the modest insulation might struggle to maintain consistency, leading to more frequent compressor cycles and louder operation. Another practical weakness is the lack of a built-in lock. Some users like the peace of mind of being able to lock the door, especially in an office setting where you might not want coworkers to wander in and grab a bottle. The absence of a lock isn't a deal-breaker for most, but it's something to consider if you need that extra security. Overall, the value of this mini wine fridge comes from its blend of convenience, quiet operation, and protective features like UV shielding, all packed into a countertop-friendly footprint. It doesn't